Hello there folks, this is Ferenc on board again. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This time I am interested in discussing a bit on the topic of artificial intelligence and a debate that I have been thinking of and kind of not lightly taking it into account. The topic of today for introspection is going to be droids, and the question that came a long while ago into my mind is, are machines actually much stronger than humans? Now, what I understand through machine is more like a extension of ourselves. So the point with machines would be that we decide how strong they would end up. Now, due to this coronavirus, problem, the point with jobs is that they will be dwindling. It is a step up in the quality of life for humans on this planet because while most people or many people will be losing their jobs because, well, automation will be more and more important, the point is that people will finally or should understand that um, they have to understand that machines are built to, do the hard work for humans. Usually machines, and they'll always be an extension of ourselves, and their purpose will always be that to, do the things that we as human naturally cannot, right? Like our race has, built tunnels, built a lot of things, did a lot of science of, mega engineering on our planet, and it wouldn't have been able without the aid of machines. Now, many people think of droids and cyborgs, and nowadays there is this tendency towards sci-fi, and people would like to be um, they wouldn't mind becoming mechanical entities. So the question is, if you are to suddenly get into a machine body, would you actually be stronger, and what would be the downsides? Now, if you are to jump into a metal body, basically that would give you much better physical strength if and only if it is so decided. But usually machines will be much stronger because they are built out of generally more durable materials. Okay, it doesn't mean that there can't be, lightweight materials, but uh, the point is, once one jumps into a machine body, the simple point is that machine body will only be an amplifier of who they really are. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, very simple. What I mean is, um, jumping into a machine body will only amplify certain more like animalistic, or I would call them basic aspects, right? Like if a person would be a dick, okay, and especially if they are physically um, you know defenseless, right? Once they jump into a machine body, they'll definitely feel, entitled to being superior to others because they have a much stronger body, physically speaking, right? And if we are to speak about ultimate weapons, right, like there is the neutron bomb, which annihilates literally every living being, while in terms of machines, there is the magnetic bombs or similar things, right, like magnetic pulses, right, the electromagnetic pulses, the EMPs, that simply shut down literally every machine. So neither of the two environments are anything, that would save you from um, harm. Many people have been plagued by the sense of sci-fi that machines are immortal. Nothing is immortal, and don't forget that machines in the end are nothing else but a body for different types of entities. Okay, everything has a consciousness, and well, the consciousness in itself, the facet of consciousness, is actually nothing else than what you call a soul. So don't be surprised if machines also have a soul of their own. Okay, it is that spark of life that triggers and that allows that code to actually do something, right? Because when we create machines, and through our creation and development of machines, we have created life from scratch. Okay, because development means creating something from zero, right? Why do you think it's called personal development, right? Why do you think this science, this thing, is somewhat illusionary in a way? Because what does personal development mean? Well, it means persona development, and a persona is nothing else than a facet that people build, right? Those masks that people put on, and those pretenses and behaviors that they adapt when surrounded by different people or within different situations. So personal development is something like you know uh, creating personalities from zero, right? All those lies, all those things that we tell ourselves, and we kind of repeat them so much that they become part of us. AI development, right, is the same thing. Machine development is the same thing. You create something from scratch because the code is developed from zero. And that code is basically soul creation, because that is what will allow, okay, that is the demi-physical aspect. Okay, the code is something that belongs to the cybernetic dimension, which I call the fourth dimension, since it is the limit between the tangible and intangible. And that's what the definition of cybernetic is. But we as humans actually have a fourth dimension, which is exactly that. No one can tell exactly what that is, because it's not tangible. So each and every individual, if they reach that level, they will experience it in their own way. And it leads to the fifth dimension, which usually is represented by ultimate bliss, and, well, very great bliss, let's say. So moving further, the point is, if you get a machine body, you'll most likely be much stronger than the other people. But the question is, how are you actually going to get your intelligence, right? There has to be some super advanced technology that will replicate your mind, right? And once you get into that body, don't forget that you're doing nothing else than how to call it, switching limitations, right? Nowadays machines tend to go through what I think it's called transhumanism. They are becoming more and more human, and we as humans kind of have this tendency to become more and more mechanical, right? Especially with people who sleep, and they are asleep, they are trapped in the matrix. And there have been many people, influential people, who work with artificial intelligence, and they actually said, we, or most of us, are already cyborgs, right? We have all these machines surrounding us, which are nothing else than extension of ourselves. They are vehicles of existence because they allow us to experience life in easier ways, right? And we have to understand them, that they are basically just that. But most people use these as drug activities. They recur to these so that they distract themselves from, well, anything else, most likely including themselves, because they are trapped in that illusion that their life would be bad. Okay, but they are also not doing anything to improve it. So when you would switch into a mechanical body, now depending on the shape, the size, the weight, okay, you are doing nothing else than switching limitations. Okay, how aware is that body? Okay, how um, how deeply introspective can that body be? Okay, like, most likely your senses would be greatly augmented, or that's usually a typical expectation. Okay, um, how much control will you have over yourself? Because the mechanical body can be controlled from the outside, just like a biological body can. But our biological bodies are not only some piece of code. Okay, they have their own code as well. But you see, the physical body has multiple dimensions of existence, just like the mechanical body does. But the mechanical body has the physical one, and it has its soul, okay? It has its cybernetic manifestation, okay? Which again, most people will probably never accept that it is actually its soul, okay? Because a machine would spring to life when its body, okay, and its code, okay, become capable, and they actually become compatible, and they become the frame, right, the scaffolding for a facet of consciousness to come in experience. When a machine is created and it springs to life, it's actually a facet of consciousness that it can um embody. And probably we can tend towards those, sci-fi situations in which such a machine can actually, start thinking for itself a bit more than intended. And of course, there were so many situations caught on footage, and there are these rare footages on the internet. However, I would disclose all of those as, like partly intended, okay? Because so many people want to induce humanity into this dream of becoming machines. So such events will always attract more and more attention, okay? You have to simply understand that a machine cannot do and will never do much more than it was programmed, okay? So just using this, you have to become a bit introspective and understand that those machines were programmed to behave like that, and give people the impression, oh my god, we have to fear machines. Like, so many people are so drowning themselves in fear, most likely they'll end up fearing their own computer and their own telephones, okay? Now this is a battle against what I call the natural versus the mechanical, okay? Because there are so many people that are simply shedding the television, okay, getting more and more into nature, or at least becoming more introspective, and they start using the devices they have as simple devices instead of distractions from who they are. Now, the idea of immortality, okay, this is a very bad disease of nowadays. The idea of immortality is that many people believe that they are immortal, and this is something that actually hurts, because you can actually see fear, okay, even shock in the eyes of so many people when they actually realize that their immortality is nothing but a blunder. Because there are so many people who actually think that they are immortal, especially older people who, they've lived so much, they believe they still have thousands of years to live, and they're so afraid of dying. But dying is just a simple process. It's like you're suddenly falling asleep. There is nothing painful about it. The only painful experience for the facet of consciousness is the actual process of getting born. That's a long ritual that's, well, it can actually be painful, and it usually leads some traumas, and it acquires a lot of karma, but, well, that's not something bad. I mean, there have to be a lot of situations one has to go through in order to experience life. Now, immortality ends, um, different things. Well, you see, machines will probably have batteries that will suit them. But the question is, once that battery goes off, well, most likely you're going to become unable to use your body, which is a downside, because biological bodies can, withstand hunger for extended periods of time, which differs per race and of course per individual. It is said that humans can actually survive, like even 3 weeks without food, but most likely instinctual responses will trigger, because you'll have to do less and less things to preserve energy. But even through that, right, you can actually withstand hunger, because hunger is the first moment when you actually lack energy and you require energy, because that is when the neurons, right, the neural cells in the body start devouring themselves because they lack food. That is how your sensation, your sensation that you're hungry triggers, right? And hunger is something that the mind can make great use of with the right training. Because when you are hungry, your attention increases, because you are tapping more and more into that hunter mindset, when you still have that mind of yours hardwired to you know, determining any situation that would yield you food, right? And many successful people actually use this because the hungrier you are, of course, with testing, because you don't just starve yourself 3 days. And some people simply skip breakfast, which is considered the most important meal, and probably would eat after the lunch, right? The lunch afternoon around 12 1 p.m., right? 12 p.m. 1 p.m. So yeah, by midday. So there are advantages, right, with the biological body. You can starve your mind a bit and you'll see that you can actually become more and more concentrated, but this takes a lot of patience. This has to have some self-trust, like a lot of it, and this has to be gone through carefully because you don't want to damage yourself more, right? Now with machines, if they starve of power, they most likely enter some sort of, hibernate, but, you're no longer capable of using your body, which kind of sucks. In the case of diseases, right, the machines don't have diseases, right, biological diseases, because they're immune to that. But, they have problem with humidity and, other problems, probably mold, can have some sort of problem because mold can attach itself on literally any substrate, and of course it can thrive in the weirdest and most awkward of environments, including a machine body. And well, they also attract humidity, which is like literally everywhere. But mold wouldn't be that much of a problem. Now, the problem with machines is, well, yes, they don't have biological diseases, but if any one of their PCs fails, well, they kind of, like instantly break, right? That is, of course, the same with the human body, right? Like any one of your organs, it fails, well, it's kind of game over. But like, even in so many of these situations, right, the body may still actually be kept alive. And well, depending on the intentions and the healing and self-healing capabilities, right, the body can actually recover, because there are miracles, but it's not as easy to welcome them in own life as so many people would expect. And let's think a bit more about this. Um, when you get a disease, right, like if a heart failure occurs, well, if the person is not given treatment fast enough, yes, they will die, but there are mechanical pumps, right, that can take the role of a heart, right, so the body can still be kept alive. But well, when the universe deems ready for that body to be returned to the memory it was taken from, right? Because each body is nothing else than a loan we people take from nature and also machines. The point is, well, when that time comes, there is no such thing as immortality. Also, I believe there is no such thing as infinity, but well, come again, that's another term, and I simply don't accept it. So machines are what I call a bit more sensitive to this, because the biological body can go through a lot of disease. Okay, like disease starts at spiritual levels and it starts, like beating itself into the physical body, right? And there are symptoms, there are lots of signs that show that. Machine signs are kind of, like um, you know they are less perceptible, and when they happen it's kind of too late. Let's not forget cyber viruses and the fact that these have much faster effect in a machine than biological viruses within our own. And like, at many times the damage in a machine by a virus can be reversible in many more situations, right? It takes a lot for a biological virus to actually bring down the immunitary system of a biological body. And when a piece of the mechanical entity breaks, it's kind of game over for that machine as well. So you see, but machines also have a lot of ways that can teach people to become introspective. For example, video games and whatever you see on your screen, you can actually, and I actually take them like that, I take them as nothing else than the machine's inspiration. What you're seeing there is the machine's power of inspiration. Again, it is coded into that, right? But think about that. You can create your own movies, you can create your own things in a mechanical body, right? So there are positives and negatives regarding each environment. Now it depends on how you want, you know, to take them. Now I consider that I've spoken enough about this because I don't want to make the video too long. If you like this type of content that I'm putting out, feel free to subscribe and follow, or at least share, so that we help raise the awareness of humanity. Now, all these being said, take great care of yourself, enjoy life more, and well, Ferenc Board signing out.